It is the 14th of July 2020, and this is the MMA Movement live chat. I'm your host, Rob Palin, and if you don't know who I am, that means you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. What are you doing? Fix it. Just hit the subscribe button down below. You can also hit the like button as well while you're at it. I'm joined as always by Sean Taylor on the other side of the screen. Sean, how are you?
Hello, sir. I fixed my mic issues this week, I believe. I've seen a couple of complaints.
Yeah,
It's not like the mic all we wanted was stability. The internet was the real issue, and the phone gave me more solid internet, but I think we fixed it.
Yeah,
I
we're
am an
slowly but
IT guru.
surely. Yeah, you turn it off, turn it back on, and we're
Yeah.
sorted. So there's a big card on the weekend, and that's going to be, I guess, what most of the chat is going to be about today. It was UFC 251, of course. Usman beat Masvidal in a fight that a lot of people had some problems with in terms of how exciting or I guess how unexciting it was, if that's even a word. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about where they go from here, Masvidal's star, that kind of thing. There was also some really good fights on the undercard, which I think were way better than the main event. Of course, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway went to decision again. Volkanovski got it. I think a lot of people thought Holloway won. We'll discuss that. Petr Yan decimated Jose Aldo eventually, after Jose Aldo looked pretty good, I thought, in the early rounds, but now he is the new bantamweight champion, and there's some other results on the card we want to talk about. But I think we'll just start at the main event, and then if you have any questions, put them into the live chat, and that's the best way to interact with us. That's the way this show works. So the more interaction, the better. But yeah, let's start with that main event. Kamaru Usman is still the welterweight champion of the world, beat Jorge Masvidal by decision. First things first, Sean, what was your thoughts on their performance from Usman, and did you have a problem with it? Were you up in arms after it about Usman's performance? Were you so upset?
Was I upset? No. You know me pretty well, Rob. I'm too lazy to get upset about these kind of things. Brendan Shaw pisses me off. A couple other things. That's about it. No, like, can you blame Usman at all? And like, he's technically amazing at what he does as well.
Yeah.
I think you just have to appreciate how good he is at it.
Yeah.
I mean, why would he go out and stand and bang with Masvidal? As well as that, he was in one of the fights of the year last year.
Yes.
It's not like he's always
his last fight.
Yeah, it's not like he's a boring fighter 100% of the time. I mean, Israel Adesanya is one of the most exciting fighters on the roster by everyone's standards, and he was in a pretty boring fight with Yoel Romero in his last fight. No, it wasn't up in arms about it. I thought like he was technically amazing at what he did. Thought Jorge had done pretty well considering he came in on 6 days' notice. Credit and respect to Usman for being as good as he is and doing what he did.
The funny thing about it is, going into the fight, I didn't see anybody make predictions about Usman winning, saying, if he wins, it's going to be this really exciting fight. I think everybody believed that if Usman was going to win, it was going to look similar to this. There was some certain moments maybe that we wouldn't have expected. I think we might have lost Sean, but I'm sure he'll be back. He's back. Some moments like the foot stomping moments were kind of funny. He was just throwing foot stomps ad nauseum, but they were working. At least maybe not landing too much damage, but he was scoring points. They were scoring points. So I just think it's weird that so many people are so upset at Usman when that's kind of what we should have expected. If Masvidal wasn't going to win, that's what we should have expected, and that's what we got. And now, in terms of Masvidal and his performance, I think that's another good discussion, because now he's coming in on 6 days notice, technically. Even he hasn't really said it was 6 days notice. He admitted that he was in camp at some point. He just took the foot off the gas. But do you think that he loses anything with this? I know we spoke about it last week, and we both agreed that Usman 100% has more to lose if he was to lose. But do you think Masvidal loses anything here?
It's a tough one. Like, he definitely brought so much extra to the pay-per-view. I mean, we've seen that from the reported numbers early on. Does he lose? Like, his money's going to go down in that renewed contract that he got. Like, the money he's going to get in his next fight is going to go down. No, I don't think so. I mean, he lived up to his BMF moniker as such in taking a fight like this on 6 notice. I'm not sure he loses a massive amount. I think respect coming in and going 5 rounds on 6 days notice that's a pretty taxing style that Usman can put on you as well. So to go in and go 5 rounds on that 6 days notice, I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think he necessarily loses too much. If we're to believe that the pay-per-view done 1.3 million buys, we can discuss that as well. Apparently that's what it done. then I guess there was a lot of new fans who had a lot of interest in Masvidal tuning in, and maybe going forward they might not avoid purchasing pay-per-views, but maybe they won't be as quick to buy a pay-per-view if he comes up against somebody like an Usman. I don't know. It's difficult to say, but I don't think he loses too much. The only thing I will say is that going into this fight, there was that kind of the mystery about it all. You know, even we were discussing it. We were like, man, I know Usman matches up so well with Masvidal. I know he should win this, but there's something about Masvidal right now that I kind of want to pick him. And I think he loses that a little bit, you know, that mystery. It's like in a good film, you know, like with a villain or something, like the Joker. I know they done the Joker and it was great, but like sometimes you don't want to know too much about their background. You want to have a bit of mystery there. And it's kind of the same with MMA. Now we know that, yes, it's true. What we thought was true. Usman matches up well with Masvidal. Too well, perhaps. Doesn't mean Masvidal can't win a rematch, but I think we would heavily favour Usman even more than we did going into this one. The mystery's gone.
I don't know about you, but I'm not sure the fight looks too different even if Jorge gets a full camp.
No, I don't think so either, unfortunately. Like, he can catch him. We saw a couple of moments, I thought, in the first and the second. And this kind of goes towards, it's a part of the discussion of, was the fight interesting? And the reason why I found the fight interesting and I enjoyed it, even though it was traditionally boring, is because that moment of Masvidal landing something was always there, I thought. I don't think that ever diminished until maybe the third round and beyond. But for the first two rounds, you know, I was still looking at it and saying, Masvidal can land one of these shots, because he was defending the takedowns well. And when he did get some space, you could see that Usman was not panicking, but you could see that Usman was conscious of what Masvidal could do on the feet. But eventually that slipped away as the fight went on. But you don't know that. Like, if you knew what the result was, then I would probably have a problem with it. Like, for example, there's certain fights where I'll go back and I'll rewatch them, like Lawler versus McDonald or something. And I know the result of that. I know exactly what happens, but I can still watch it because of what happened in the fight. This kind of fight where I enjoyed it in the moment because I didn't know what was going to happen, but I'm never going to go revisit it. No. It's just not going to happen unless it's for making picks or something.
The likes of me and you and some of the people who listen to this show will find those fights interesting just because we're MMA nerds, really.
Yeah.
And we appreciate like how good the likes of Usman are. But if you don't like I don't know who would have tuned in to watch Usman put on a different kind of display, especially against a guy like Masvidal. It was different against Covington because they both had that wrestling and it kind of just negated each other, so they stayed on the feet. Rob, give me a second here.
Yeah, no worries. I'll continue. I completely agree with that. It was different with Usman. I don't know if Sean can hear me now.
I'm back. I was at my mum though.
No worries.
What was I saying? Yeah, I don't know who would have tuned in to watch Usman put on a display like that, he did against Covington or against Covington.
To expect it, you mean?
Yeah, expecting that kind of display. And it would have been pretty piss poor from his corner as well to let him go in and do that. Let's be honest. Yeah. So if you don't like it, don't tune in. It's pretty simple. Like, it annoys me so much when people complain about things that they don't have to watch or don't have to look at. Like, you don't like it, tune out, man.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing was the fact that Usman took this fight on short notice as well, and I don't think he was given enough credit for taking the fight because he had so much to lose. And it's not to say that I don't think Usman would fight in the same way if they were to rematch, because I think he probably would. But on short notice, I would expect him to lean into his strengths even further, because he's already taken risk number one, which was taking the fight. And then, are you really going to take risk number two, which is stand with Masvidal? No. You can make the argument that you can make the argument that maybe he could have tried to be a little bit more active in those grappling scenarios, but there was no need to. And I think Jorge, at some points, done the smart thing where he wasn't stalling, but he was defending the takedown, but not really using up too much energy to try get out of position because he knew he had time left. But I guess near the end of the fight, I would have liked to see him try escape those positions a bit quicker, and easier said than done against a high level wrestler. But I wish we had that. Let me see if we have some questions here in the live chat. I want to stay on this fight for a second. I'll go back to those ones. It's about
To be
Max.
to be fair to Masvidal, he took the loss like a champ as well. Spoke pretty well afterwards in his press conference.
Yeah.
Didn't really make excuses. I mean, he mentioned the 6-day thing, but like he didn't come out and say, "Give me a full camp." He didn't come out and blasphemously say, "Give me a full camp," and
No.
then I'll beat him. But yeah, he took it pretty well.
Yeah, I thought he took it pretty well. I know some people like Ben Askren, for example, said that he should have come out and kind
Would
of
have been a valid excuse, realistically.
It would have. But I'm kind of glad he didn't. There's a question here.
Great during fight week, actually.
Oh yeah, so did I. I just think it's funny every time that Masvidal fights, he's like, "Oh damn, I'm just gonna see this fucking clip again." Tom Brown Jones, if the 1.3 million buy figure for UFC 151 is accurate, does the potential Conor versus Masvidal fight sell more than Conor versus Khabib? I don't know.
If the number is true, right, then yes, it does. If that card done 1.3 million buys, then Masvidal and Conor sells more than Khabib and Conor. Then the first one, yeah, maybe not second.
Let me do some pay-per-view math if I can. If
Conor
possible.
and Khabib done 2.2, is that right? Around that market?
Something like that, yeah. Khabib versus Poirier sold around 1 million buys apparently. So
I'm not sure about this 1.3 number, I have to say.
Either am I. And it was very quick.
If it includes international, maybe. But if we're talking just US alone here, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
Like if you're including Canada, Australia, Europe, and all that, then maybe. But I mean, Jorge, I said this to you last night. Jorge is the only bona fide pay-per-view star really on that card.
Yeah.
Usman isn't. Max is a star in MMA. He's not really a mainstream guy.
Aldo might give you a bit of power, but not much.
Volkanovski certainly isn't. Yan isn't driving to. Maybe from Russia, Yan's driving a few, but
yeah, but they're not counted. I think Canada is counted as far as I know because it's North American pay-per-view buys, but I'd have to be. Apparently the live, according to MMA Buds, the live prelims only done 800k. I'd need to check what the higher number would be because I don't really track prelim numbers, but that usually does give you an idea of what the pay-per-view will be. If the lead-in is high, usually the pay-per-view numbers are high. So
you would expect it to be a bit lower, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But like
800k, you wouldn't expect it to grow by 500k out of nowhere then for the pay-per-view.
I don't know. It depends. I don't know what the usual lead-in is. I don't know if it's usually like for a big card. Is it usually like a mil? Is it usually 1.2? I don't know. I don't really have a frame of reference for that.
Compare it to the card at Christmas with three title fights on it. I mean, they were pretty similar makeups. Masvidal is the only main difference. I mean, you had Usman and Covington, neither are big stars. Max and Volkanovski, neither massive pay-per-view stars. Amanda Nunes, I think, was on it as well, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Like Usman is the one, or not? Masvidal's the one driving the buys there, so it would be interesting to compare those two.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical.
I'm skeptical too. Salvastola, Colby or Bournes will probably beat Marty because they neutralise his ground game and clinch game. Well, we saw the Colby one before and he lost it, but he looked good, and with some adjustments, I wouldn't be surprised. And the Bournes one for me is interesting. I definitely favour Usman, but it's interesting.
I'd like to see. There is some good matchups for Usman there at the minute.
There is, yeah.
Bournes, that Covington rematch, even the Edwards rematch.
Yeah, Edwards is going to be left out, isn't he?
So.
Do you think Usman missed a beat by putting on a performance like that? Saying the biggest pay-per-view after McGregor Khabib, whole world watching, and for me putting a performance that wins over nobody. No, as you said, I don't think so. I think the risk of losing that fight was way bigger than the reward of putting on an exciting fight.
Yeah.
Far bigger.
Do you think Usman gets a rematch if he goes in there and loses on 60? He's talking on 60
absolutely
days.
not.
There's not a chance he gets a rematch.
It looked like if he went in and lost, it would look similar to the Eddie Alvarez situation with Conor. When Conor went in and blasted him, and Eddie just never really... There was never even a chance of him getting back to that title after that.
Whereas say Jorge had come in and it had been more... Like, it was pretty competitive, but like say Jorge had come in and it had been really competitive, like really close fight. Say, I don't know, 48-47 on the card, something like that. Jorge gets the rematch with a full camp, I think. I
think so too. Yeah, if it was a bit more competitive, I wouldn't even be surprised if he does it now. Like, I don't think it will happen.
Not immediate, but maybe.
Not immediate, but it wouldn't surprise me, especially if the numbers are true. MMA Bud said that Usman is unlikable like John Jones used to be. He needs to be more authentic. Yeah, I guess so. He doesn't seem like he's a bad guy. Like John Jones seems he was hiding his real self in that way.
John's a prick. Like John Jones is a prick.
Yeah,
Let's
but
have
Usman,
it right.
it's almost opposite. Usman almost, I think Usman probably is a nice guy, but he almost acts harder than he is. Like, of course he's fucking hard, but you know what I mean? He has that like outward, like I'm an absolute badass, where he's probably more like a Stipe Miocic, who's just a nice guy and a very good competitor.
I did enjoy the article. I think it was Mark Raimondi put it up. Remember I sent it to you? It was about his dad. That for me is a pretty good read. I think if anyone doesn't particularly like Usman, it's worth reading that. Yeah, it was a good read and an insight into his life and his background and stuff. I think stories like that are a good way of getting into a fighter or finding out a bit more rather than just making assumptions about don't like this guy. And like John Jones is a generally dislikable prick.
Yeah.
Usman not so much. I don't mind him.
Yeah. Let's jump into this co-main event, and before we do, make sure you hit that like button. It'll really help us out. But yeah, the question that first came in was Max should have won that fight, and then the second question from the same person was 10 point must system is outdated. So let's talk about Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. Of course, Volkanovski gets the decision in what for me was a very close fight. First things first, how did you score it, John?
48-47 Max. That's how I scored it. Yeah.
Same. And have you rewatched it?
2 and 3 was close. You could maybe give 5 to Max.
Yeah. But you found 3 rounds that Max won in there. Have you rewatched it?
What? No, I haven't. It's not a fight pass yet. Yeah. 1 and 2. For me, one of the issues was, if you're given rounds 3 and 4 to Volkanovski, Max won 1 and 2 pretty conclusively. I think, like pretty obviously. If you want to say that Volkanovski won 3 and 4, 3 is really close. 4 he probably won, but like he didn't necessarily win it decisively either.
Yeah.
And then 5, you can give to Max. I know Ariel scored that one to Max as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Max won 3 rounds there. It's not a robbery. Like I was thinking about this before I come on, and I was trying to think of examples of robberies. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 1 was a robbery. To give that fight a draw and to one judge gave it to Deontay, that's a robbery. Like Deontay won 2 rounds in that fight out of 12.
Yeah.
So this fight's not a robbery. When you have 2 rounds go one way and 2 rounds go another, and it comes down to the swing of a 1 round, you're gonna have close fights. So it's a close fight that went one way that a lot of people don't agree with.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah, I scored 3 rounds to Max Holloway as well. I haven't rewatched it, so I do want to rewatch it. But I think either way, even if I come to the conclusion that Volkanovski won, I still wouldn't be upset at myself for scoring to Max Holloway, because I think there's 3 rounds there for sure. And then if you say who won the fight and not taking into account any rounds, very clearly Max Holloway won the fight. I mean, if those 2 lads scrapped on the street, and this isn't the game that we're playing, so it's kind of a stupid comparison, but it is what it is, as Max Holloway would say. Max won that fight. But I think the problem with the system, there's definitely a problem with the system. But remember, we had Jimmy Smith on the podcast a while back, a couple of months back, and we were talking about judging, because it comes up every once in a while. Yeah. And his thing was that he doesn't think that the system is necessarily that bad, which I do agree with. I think, well, I don't think it's perfect, but I don't think it's necessarily that bad.
This fight.
Yeah, the judging wasn't the issue in this fight, but I think with most decisions, most bad decisions, I think mostly it's due to bad judges rather than a bad system. But I think there's these cases here where we can't even agree on who won a fight because they're so close. Like, I think for most fights, you'll get 3 rounds if it's a 5-round fight, or 2 rounds for a fighter pretty comfortably, if you can judge a fight, if you're good at judging a fight. But then there's these cases where the rounds are so close that the system doesn't help at all. So I think the first thing you need to do is really educate the judges on how to judge fights. But that wasn't the problem here. I thought they done an okay job, because I can see why judges gave certain guys certain rounds. But then it's starting to look at how you fix the system. And like, I mean, Luke Thomas made a good argument that the more things you add to the system, the more convoluted it is, the harder it is to judge, which is very true. Like, I think for me, sometimes I look at it, and when someone says, let's just judge the fight as a fight, and I almost think about it like there should be some kind of system there. There should be some kind of like calculation made, because that's the way I think. I'm kind of analytical in that way. But then if you look at a fight as a whole, I think 99.9% of people will be able to agree on who won the fight as a fight. So that's probably the right system. Just judge the fight as a whole. And I think we'd have less poor decisions. But then at the end of the day, if you do have some bad judges, again, that's not the problem here. But if you have bad judges and you have judged the fight as a whole, you're still going to get terrible decisions if they're bad judges. So yeah, you have to fix both. It's not just one thing.
It's such a rabbit hole as well. Like personally, I haven't seen too many people who actually gave it to Volkanovski. Have you?
I've seen a few people give it to Volkanovski, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So one reason why I asked you to rewatch it, or wondered if you rewatched it, because Ben Folks had an article up on The Athletic. He scored it to Max Holloway the first time out, scored it to Volkanovski the second time out.
Okay.
So
yeah, I it is one I'll be rewatching. When you're talking there about scoring the fight as a whole, I think you definitely scored to Max. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like in that sense, Max doesn't get rewarded for winning rounds 1 and 2 as decisively as he did when Volkanovski won his rounds like a lot close. Max won his rounds like this.
Yeah.
Volkanovski won his like this. If you know
but not quite 10-8s.
Yeah,
you know,
not 10-8. Yeah,
but
they
then,
weren't 10-8.
Yeah, but then what happens is people say, well, why not do half point systems? And it's like, yeah, that could be a solution, but the end of the day, the problem we're trying to solve is let's get the decisions right. If you're using half points, you can still mess that up royally. Why not just score the fight? Because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to score who won the fight. And I think with MMA in particular as well, because it's 5 rounds, and it's 5-minute rounds, or else 3 5-minute rounds. With boxing, I think it could be hard to score the fight as a whole if it's a 12-rounder or something, because there's so many breaks in between.
There's
and such a long,
there,
it's a lot in there, so it kind of makes sense to break those up. And like you have 12 rounds, so you shouldn't really get it wrong, even though we still see if they get it wrong. But with MMA, it's a lot easier, I think, to score the fight as a whole when you look back at it, especially in a 3-rounder. I know it's you can figure it out. I think that's the solution.
I think something that might be interesting would be, I know amateur boxing, they use, I'm pretty sure they do, they use 5 judges. I know, and they I think they get rid of the 2 widest scorecards, if you know what I mean.
All right,
so
that makes
5
judges,
sense. And then to get rid of the 2 widest.
Yeah,
so like in a 48-47, say that Max Holloway and I was actually thinking of putting on a cap as well, Rob. I have one behind me. In that Max Holloway fight, say you had 5 judges and 3 of the judges scored 48-47 one way or the other, and then you have one judge who's 49-46 and another who's 50-45. Those last you get discredited, and then you go off the 3 middle ones.
It's like the outlier. You pull out the outlier because it skews the numbers.
Yeah. I don't know. That maybe doesn't even work either, but I'm not even sure. I don't think anyone knows what the solution is. I mean, people give out about the 10-point must system, but then don't come up with a solution. I mean, people will say that it's outdated. It doesn't, and maybe it doesn't work for MMA because it was designed for boxing.
Yeah.
But like, what's the solution?
I think it's score the fight as a whole. I really do.
Yeah.
I like, the more I think about it, and I've been watching this sport for a long time, I think that's the solution. I think at the end of the day, it's better than what we have. Sometimes you can't have a perfect solution, but sometimes you can make incremental improvements, and I think that's the solution.
So if you're scoring a fight as a whole, you don't score each round, then do you? Is that right?
No, just score the fight as a whole.
Do you have the 4 criteria of scoring, and do you give a 10-9, a 10-point must system to each of them? Say, so what is it? It's striking, effective grappling, cage control, and what's the other one?
Striking, grappling, cage control, and aggression. Is that
aggression, So do you have a 10-9 must then on each of them, 10-8 if someone has fucking pieced them up for a round or something like that?
Perhaps. Like, I don't know exactly what way you do it, but at the end of the day, I think give them a scorecard, and at the all they need to do is say Max Volkanovski at the end. Because I guarantee you, there's probably some of those judges who maybe scored it to one guy or the other, who would say, yeah, if that was just scoring a fight as a whole, not under this calculation, this criteria, I probably would have gave it to that guy, because he done more work and he landed the better shots. But when you fit it into this system, it just doesn't work. And you could say maybe be more liberal with the 10-8s, but then that can even get a bit messy. Like, I don't know. It's a very difficult thing to do within the system that we have, I think.
I still think judges need to be more accountable for their scorecards.
Oh, yeah. I think the biggest problem, honestly, I think the biggest problem is incompetent judges, just because it wasn't the problem here. But, I mean, if you watch, say, post-fight analysis on any fight that has some bad scorecards, for the most part, people will agree on the scorecards. They'll agree, this guy should have won. This one here is a bit of an outlier, and we've seen it a good few times. So I don't think the problem is a one-tiered problem. There's 2 tiers to it. There could be even more. But the first thing is get the right judges, which I think they had in these circumstances, because I didn't have a problem with the scorecards, and then fix the system. It's a tough one.
Do you want to talk about the actual fight? Because we've after spending 10 minutes there talking about the scoring. What do you think of the fight?
Excellent fight. I thought Max Holloway done a great job making some really good adjustments from the first fight, especially with his kicks, because Max is normally a boxer.
Yeah, that lead leg is out there for taking a lot of time.
Yeah, and he took that away from Volkanovski. He made his strikes worth something. It wasn't just volume. He was making them work for him. But I thought the kicks were the biggest thing, and then Volkanovski then in the later rounds I thought made some good adjustments where Max couldn't get off those kicks. He almost fell back into the same game plan as the first fight, and that's when I thought Volkanovski was kind of taking over. But man, there was a question that came up on some show I was listening to, and it was, do we still not know after 10 rounds who the better fighter is? And I would say yes. I'd say we still need to figure out who is the better guy. We don't know. It was that close.
Yeah, I thought Max done a great job first 3 rounds of great adjustments in the first fight. I thought Volkanovski, credit to him, made some adjustments on the fly, which is really impressive. But yeah, 10 rounds. I'd be all for a trilogy here, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
next. Maybe not. If I wouldn't be against it if you wanted to do it next.
Yeah.
But yeah, wouldn't be against the trilogy at all.
I wouldn't be against it either. I'd be all for it, to be honest.
I tweeted that on the night. I was like 10 rounds, we don't know. I mean, we've enjoyed both fights. They've both been really interesting. So yeah, I'd be all for it again.
But yeah, it's difficult to say now where Max Holloway goes.
It's tough.
I
think his stock has somewhat gone up though.
I think so too.
Took the loss. Like, Max Holloway is an absolute G.
Yeah.
Took it like a champ. Donating his fight kit to charity. Max has just been Max all week. I think people love him for it. Yeah.
We'll see where he goes, but it's difficult to say. I'm going to try jumping into some more questions here because there's a lot of them. Let's talk about the next fight really quickly. Well, not really quickly because there's a lot to talk about. It's the Aldo fight. It's Aldo Petr Yan. Petr Yan now the bantamweight champ. And the biggest talking point from this fight has been the stoppage. Of course, the talking point, what happens with Yan next, because he's now the champ. But, you know, a lot of people want to talk about the stoppage, so let's talk about it. Man, it was
shit.
Pretty horrific.
Yeah.
It was pretty horrific. Shit, yeah. It was Leon Roberts, right? The referee. Wasn't it? I think it was Leon Roberts. And he's usually a good referee, so I don't want to say too much. Gentleman, I've met him before. But really, really bad stoppage. But at the end of the day, as gruesome as it sounds, this is exactly what the UFC were looking for. Maybe not such a horrific stoppage, but this is the way the sport unfortunately does work, and it's the reason why why Jose Aldo was put in here with Petr Yan, and it wasn't an Aljamain Sterling, or it wasn't one of those guys. The upside of this fight for the promotion and for Petr Yan was that he's going in here against a legendary figure of sorts in MMA, and something like this could have happened. He could have got a huge finish where he looks like an absolute superstar, looks like a killer. And that's what we got. It's the way the fight game has always worked, not just in MMA, but in boxing. The older fighter goes in there and takes a fucking beating off the younger guy, and that's what we saw. It was unfortunate to see. Should have been stopped a lot quicker, but jeez.
Yeah, I thought Yan looked really good. It was pretty competitive first couple of rounds as well. I don't know how you had it scored going. I had it scored 3-1 to Yan going into the fifth, personally. I did see a few people have it 2-2. I personally had a 3-1 Yan. I thought his boxing was phenomenal. I think he's class to watch.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun. Aldo was competitive. He wasn't outmatched at all, I don't think. I think Yan just wore him down come the end, and like that should have been stopped so much sooner. I seen a tweet. It was like Yan got him down, I think, at 3:36 of the 5th round. It was the 5th round. 3:36, and it wasn't stopped till 1:14. Aldo was in that turtled up position for a long time, taking shots, heavy shots. Not like the term was intelligently defending yourself, and he wasn't.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He was just trying to
survive.
I wouldn't even say improve his position, because the criteria that they get is that they should improve their position, but is going from like side back control, whatever way you want to call it, to like full back control, to like opposite side back control, is that really improving your position? It's not really. It's making adjustments where the other guy is either meeting you or beating you in that regard, you know. So I think they need to look at that, because just moving and doing nothing else, I don't think that's enough for the fight to stay on and going. It was pretty bad.
Yan looked phenomenal though come the end.
Yan looked great. And he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. Of course, it looks like Sterling will be next.
Aldo's next. That just makes sense.
Yeah. And how do they match up? It's difficult to say. Because Aldo in the past has, I think in the past, like in past performances, I would say that Petr Yan would have a fairly big advantage. But lately, Aldo has looked really good. Like phenomenal.
Man. Really interesting fight. Bantam's one of the hottest divisions at the minute. It's flying. Aldo as well, like it'd be hard for me to not pick against him, but I'm not going to write him off in this one because I picked Sandhagen against him. He came out and subbed Sandhagen in a minute or something.
Yeah.
You couldn't write Aldo off. You'd probably have to favour Yan. I don't know if there's I don't even think there's odds on it yet. You'd have to favour Yan, but you couldn't write Aldo off at all. Yeah,
I agree. I'd favour Yan, but can't.
I'd love if Yan could get some broken English in there like Khabib. I think he'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
I think Khabib is brilliant at his level of English. I think he's so funny and blunt.
Yeah.
I'd love if Yan could get something similar.
Yeah.
I think he would be a real star then.
Yeah, I think he has some potential there. Salva Stola. Daddy Dana always says don't leave it in the judge's hands.
Daddy Dana talks bollocks.
That is I think someone said it. It's ridiculous.
That's the dumbest phrase of all time.
Fabian Patilla said it's the dumbest thing, and I agree.
Ridiculous.
It's part of the fight. A decision is a decision. It's part of the fight.
Yeah.
You should have competent people there to make sure it goes the right way, or a competent system, both.
Like if Usman goes in there because he doesn't want to leave it in the judge's hands, right, and he gets sparked swinging for their bleachers, what Dana will come out and call him an idiot for not wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, Dana has bigged up Francis Ngannou for years, and then he slags him off when he gets beaten by Stipe because he can't wrestle.
Yeah.
Whereas he wouldn't have got to where he could get to if he could wrestle, because he could just wrestle all the time. I
will say, Dana did give Usman some credit this time around, and I'm kind of surprised that he did. I was kind of expecting him to say, I thought it was a piss poor performance of some sort, but he did say that Usman is a beast, put on a good performance. So I will say that. Well done. It's never I saw one guy give it to Volkanovski, James from the Score MMA. Yeah, James Lynch. We've had James on before. Good guy.
I haven't seen too many give it to Volkanovski personally, but could see why you might.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question, and I need to think about it. I'll probably watch the fight again, but
let's probably pass it to me first.
I'll say. Taylor the Tape asked, if we abolish the 10-point must system and we judge the fight in its entirety, do you think Andrade would beat Rose, or would have beat Rose? It's a good question, because Andrade came on fairly strong late, but she didn't do like horrific damage to the point where I thought she came back. So I probably would still say Rose won that fight, but
I'd have loved another 2 rounds in that fight.
I know. I'll tell you what, Andrade, like Rose impressed me, but I expected to be impressed by Rose.
Yeah.
Andrade impressed me a lot, because
she made some phenomenal adjustments from the first fight, because like I was pretty keen on from a betting point of view, I was pretty keen on Rose all week. And I forgot the fight wasn't 5 rounds, because I forgot there was no title on the line.
Yeah.
And I was coming around the idea of backing a late KO for Rose, and then I didn't. I just backed Rose straight because 3 rounds. But yeah, Andrade made some phenomenal adjustments that I wasn't sure she could make, just because of her usual style.
Yeah.
Rose is so fun to watch when she's on it like that. I think she's class. I love her.
Yeah, she's great. Let me just try to scroll up and get some more of these questions. There's a lot of questions here. Keep throwing them in. As we usually do, we're going to go for just over an hour, not too much over. So make sure you get your questions in, all that jazz. As Nebrem said, Sean's looking kind of smart today, like Brendan Schaub.
One of me and Schaub, one of us looks smart, one of us is smart. You tell which.
He also said, Rob, be careful not to break your brush in your beard. I know. Jeez. David Power, how do you see Yan versus Sterling going?
Tough one.
I favour Yan, personally. Yeah, Fabian Patella, one championship scoring criteria is better, which is the full fight, which I agree with. Nebrem, if you credit the knockdown like in boxing, Max would have won easily. I'm not sure how I feel about that though.
Yeah, it's hard to credit a knockdown as much as you do in boxing over a 5-minute round.
Yeah, I agree.
Like there's a lot more action in a 5-minute round of MMA, obviously because it's longer, but a lot more happens. There's too many variables to count the knockdown for as much as it's counted in boxing, I think.
Yeah.
It's not comparable. If you're doing that, you'd have to count a takedown for the same, then, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. Question, how good is, this is from Johnson Thompson, how good is Yuri Prokaska? He's quite good. He has as people have kind of related him to Johnny Walker, he has a bit of a Johnny Walker thing going on. I've seen him before, obviously, in Rising. And I think he's a very good fighter, but we have seen flaws in his game. We know they're there. It's not like it's a surprise. He does some weird things. We saw it. And, it's hard to say they will work against the top guys, for example, like the John Joneses and even, your Gustafsons, that kind of type of thing. But he's a very good fighter and very exciting. He was doing some crazy shit in there.
Yeah, he was really fun. I backed him on your recommendation, and so won a little bit of money thanks to that.
Yeah. You got a couple of bets up, right?
Yeah, I won about 100 and something quid.
Nice. What did you have again? You had that. That was in it.
Rob.
You had a lot. What was your winners?
So I had the Petr Yan Rose Namajunas double.
Yes.
I had Yuri Prochazka single.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
then I had a 5-fold. So the 5-fold was Usman by decision, Volkanovski by decision, Rose, and Yan. Oh, it was a 4-fold, so it was that 4. That was 4.
Fair.
Yeah. That was around 10 to 1 or something.
Nice. Very good.
Then a couple of horses I won for me yesterday as well, so I've had a pretty good few days.
One day you're so happy. Good point. Sal Pistola said Max would have a hard time against the top 5 lightweights. I agree. We've kind of seen that. That's what's so disappointing in a way, that the fight went how it went. In a way, fair play to Volkanovski, but Max is in a tough position now.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, there is a couple of guys there coming up that Max hasn't fought, that if you wanted, like if you didn't want to do the immediate rematch, there's some fights there that make sense. It's not like you're putting him into rematches with a load of guys.
Yeah. Was it just me? And let me know if you think this, Sean, and people in the chat. Did Max look like way better conditioned or something? Like he looked more muscular in this fight, or was it just because he had the hair? I don't know.
Well, he wasn't training over Zoom. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, I know.
That was very funny. I heard DC said he was on the phone to Max during fight week, and he asked him about the Zoom stuff, and Holloway was like, "Yeah, I've trained over Zoom, man." And you could just hear his camp laughing in the background. Yeah, I don't know. He looked just a better fighter. Did you read that article I sent you about how he structures his whole team and stuff?
No, I actually didn't.
It's really interesting. So he structures his whole team like a basketball team as such, where he's a player. So they went to the Toronto Raptors. He's a big fan.
Yeah.
And he basically he has a GM. So previously Max would have been the GM, the manager, the head coach. He would have been everyone. He would have been the finance guy, the CEO, the CFO, all of it.
Sure.
Whereas now he's a CFO. He's a finance guy who does it all for him. He has a CEO. He's his manager. And he is essentially just the player who turns up. Everyone's looked after for him, trains, does all that stuff. So he's no distractions now.
That's good.
It's interesting, yeah. It is worth reading the article. It's
Did
on
he say that was
ESPN.
recent?
Which?
Did he say that was recent? This
Yeah,
new
I think it
structure?
was after the fight was. It was in the process around the time the fight was first pulled with Volkanovski. Do you remember he had those issues with
Oh yeah.
the leg symptoms?
Yeah.
It was
Fair.
that was happening around then.
Fair.
But yeah, a really interesting structure to have around the team, and not a lot of guys have it.
Yeah. No, it's good if you can afford it.
Yeah,
Then
that's the thing,
absolutely. Fabian Patella, Max looked tanned. LOL, and that's probably part of it as well. Like, there's a reason why bodybuilders like paint themselves gold before going on stage. He did look quite tanned. Spend some time on the beach.
He looked, to be honest, he looked fresh, Max.
He did look good.
Yeah, like he's had a hard run over a couple of years now. He looked fresh.
Johnson Thompson, apparently Marlon and Cody was made today. Is that right?
I didn't see anything about that, yeah. Not to say now that I would be dossing at work or anything, but I usually keep my eyes on Twitter. And didn't notice that.
Yeah, because I know he tested positive for COVID. Fair enough. I actually did kind of read this. So, he tested positive for COVID. Marlon did, so did his whole family, like immediate family. But apparently he accepted a fight with Cody Garbrandt before that. But I'm gonna guess that's gonna be pushed or else cancelled. But good fight.
Yeah, that one kind of makes sense, to be honest.
It does make sense. Like, good fight for Garbrandt in terms of getting himself back into contention. Like, if he was to beat Marlon Moraes, I think a lot of people would be not as pissed him contending for a title soon. As Nebrem, would Habib catch Max's front kick like he caught Poirier's? Max is much lighter on his feet. Potentially. I thought before Max lost at lightweight, I thought he would have been actually a really good matchup for Habib in certain ways. I'm not quite sure now. I didn't think he would beat him now, but I'm not quite sure now.
I think we need to see Max. I've said this before. I think we need to see Max build into lightweight similar to how Dustin did.
Yeah.
And he's kind of getting towards that stage of his career now where you're like, he can't really go up to lightweight and build into it over a couple of fights. Max at that big fight stage of his career where he can't go up and take a regular top 15 guy. So it'll be tough for him. I think we'll probably see him at featherweight for the rest of his career now.
Yeah. Hopefully he can get back to a title. Liam Rushworth in the community tab, because I want to get to these questions as well, said, I don't like how Dana said, I don't know, to is Aljo next for Petr Yan. They're going to do Moraes versus Yan, aren't they? Well, it doesn't look like it with Moraes, but I guess if Moraes did actually accept a fight with Garbrandt and that fell through, are they going to just throw Garbrandt in there? Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise
me at all.
Pretty dirt move now, but
the only other thing as well I seen today that Aljo put up a thing on his Twitter basically complaining. It was in response to the Yan winning the title. Someone said, I can't believe Yan won the title and he's only ranked number 5 or something like that. And Aljo replied to it and said he thinks it's ridiculous how the sport is going. Basically, say rankings don't matter. If they don't matter, don't pretend like they do. So hopefully that's just talking about that. Yeah. And not it's something that he's in discussions with the UFC and he knows he's not getting the fight, because that would suck.
The rankings are like the UFC interim titles. They don't matter until they do. They don't matter until the UFC needs them to matter.
It's a promotional tool.
Yeah.
Salva Stola in the community tab asked, what's next for Amanda Ribas?
Good question.
She looked good. Amanda Ribas looked good. As expected, huge underdog against Paige Van Dant and got it done in the typical women's MMA style.
Huge favourite, Rob.
With the what did I say? Underdog. Huge favourite.
Underdog, yeah, huge favourite.
Huge favourite. She's done it in the typical women's MMA. Headlock takedown, armbar job, great stuff. But she looked really good. She's very funny as well. Like,
I think she's
really
such a good character.
Personality. I don't know, just at the press conference, I mean, she was like, hello, with a W. Very good. What's next for her? What? That's 125. Does she usually fight at 125?
I don't think so. I think she's normally 115. Is that right?
I feel like she is, but I could be wrong. Oh, maybe it is 125.
Paige is going to Bellator next to now.
I'd imagine so, yeah. She'll do okay, I think. But
makes me happy not to see Paige get beat up, you know. You don't like seeing that pretty face being beat up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what's next for Amanda Ribas, but she's 10-1 now, and women's MMA isn't that deep, so she's probably only a couple of fights away from a title.
She could be fast tracked with a couple of wins.
Yeah, and to be honest, say what you will about Paige Van Zandt, a win over her matters to the casual fans. It does.
UFC done Paige dirty with that fight. Last fight of contract, and they're throwing that to you. Fuck.
I know. And then Dana White afterwards saying, "Yeah, Paige should go test free agency." Like, a little backhand.
Yeah, that's a rough fight. Coming off a couple of surgeries on your arm, and that's a fucking rough one, man. Paige was crying going into the octagon. Did you see that? On a walkout, did you see Paige crying?
Yeah.
Pretty emotional. I saw that, and I was like, she's not winning this fight.
Yeah. She was quite outmatched in the end.
Yeah.
Let me just grab the.
What stood out to you on the prelims?
On the prelims, let me look at the prelims.
Look through them now.
I thought Americani's submission over Danny Henry was quite nice.
Yeah, really nice.
Davy Grant in the opener. Those are the kind of ones that stood out to me.
There was how many? 1, 2, 3. Is that 5 decisions in a row?
Yeah.
4 decisions in a row, man. It was a really fun card to watch, but fuck me, for us European guys, it was a slog come the end. It finished at 7 a.m. for me.
Yeah.
That was rough going to bed now, I have to say.
Yeah. Amanda Ribas is a strawweight. Yeah. Sage Van Zandt. Ribas says she wants to go down to back down to 115. Yeah, so I had a feeling that she was kind of in between weight classes. Fair. Yeah, pretty good card. There's a card on this weekend as well. I want to just grab some more questions, but I want to talk a little bit about that card in the weekend because the main event was good. I thought. Question about Till. Liam Rushworth in the community tab. If Till wins, do you think Till versus Adesanya could sell out Anfield if fans are allowed back in?
Yeah, I do. I think Till against most guys would sell out Anfield.
I agree, yeah.
Just no one,
but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
European fans, I think, you'd sell out Anfield pretty easily.
Yeah, I can't imagine that happen anytime soon, though.
Yeah, I would imagine Australia would be the one. Like, there's talk of Australia. I think it's New Zealand. I mean, you can do. I think they'll probably do or look to do Adesanya and Costa in New Zealand with a crowd.
Yeah.
New Zealand are allowing full crowds now to matches or to sporting events. So.
Znebrem, the longest fight time of any card.
Yeah, tell me about it, man.
Yeah, I fell asleep. I couldn't do it.
I always text Rob before a card and like, are you staying up, man? And he was like, yeah. And then he sent me a picture of craft beer cans that were like 7.5%. And I was like, oh, God.
And that was like 10, that was 9:30 or something. I started drinking
that was wicked early as well. I was like, oh, God. And then you can always tell when Rob falls asleep because he stops either tweeting or replying. Like there's a long gap between the replies.
Yeah. I woke up and I was like, quickly turn off my internet and swipe away all notifications. And then, because I have the Fitbit, I start getting fucking notifications on this. And I was like, oh, quick thing. But I didn't see any results.
Yeah, I don't know how you do this. Someone asked me over the weekend, they were like, surely it's not worth staying up for these cards like when you're a veg. I was a vegetable on Sunday. And they were like, surely you could just watch it the next day. And I was like, no, see, I can't stay off my phone and not see the results. If I wake up, it's the first thing I do. I just go check the results. So then it's not the same watching it live because it's different watching fights.
Oh, big time.
The results, you score them differently. You watch them differently. It's just a different viewing experience.
But even if you don't know the results, I find it's different.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like watching it live, I don't like. It just feels like anything can happen or something.
It's just
but also, and the crack with Twitter, I do like the Twitter crack. You know.
Yeah. Twitter's fun.
Twitter is fun on Fight Night because
the only people up at that time of night are the people watching the fight. So it's good.
Yeah, I know. It's gas. Fight card tomorrow. I think I said this weekend a minute ago, but it's tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, and then there's a card on Saturday night as well.
Yeah. I will not be staying up for this card, and I won't be staying up for the card on Saturday night either. But I will watch them, of course. The main event is Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige, which I think is a really good fight.
Really good fight.
Really good fight. I think Kattar is a big enough favourite as far as I know, but Dan Ige is a dog in this fight. He's a really, really good fighter. And I like Kattar. I think his boxing is excellent. He has a very traditional style of boxing, the way he fights in MMA, something you don't really see that much. but it can play against him. Of course, Ige is a really good grappler, has good takedowns, and he's a black belt, I believe. So, I honestly think there's money to be made on Ige potentially, but I would favour Kattar to win. So my official pick would be Kattar, but man, if Ige is a big favourite, which I think a big underdog, which I think he might be, you never know.
Yeah, Calvin Kattar 3-10 and 12-5 on Ige, if you like that.
Yeah.
I had so Dan Ige had both these guys have fought during the lockdown.
Yeah, I believe so. 1 second.
Dan Ige's last fight was against Edson Barboza. I had him in that fight. I think I got pretty lucky with the decision in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably I wouldn't be that interested in Dan Ige at the price personally. I think I'd favour Danny or Calvin Kattar here.
Yeah, I definitely favour him. Yeah. Yeah, the finish over Stevens was nice, but that's the type of fight that he likes, Jeremy Stevens. So
definitely.
He had some problems in the past, of course, with Zabit, but we don't know how good Zabit is yet, but we think he's quite good, and he's just throwing some random stuff at Kattar, which he just couldn't figure out. And then against Moicano done a great job with his kicks. So yeah, interesting one. As Nebrem said, a banger tomorrow night is Razak Al-Hassan versus Lazez. And apparently Dana signed this kid, which I assume is Lazez, because Razak has fought a few times, because a friend showed him a highlight video. Interesting. Let me see. I haven't seen this guy before. I don't believe. Al-Hassan Lazez, he is 9-1, and he has fought in Brave, actually. So Noel probably knows a little bit about him.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to Eldar Eldarov, who I know.
A pretty big underdog as well, Lazaz's fight.
Is he? Yeah. Well, Al-Hassan is a bit of a beast. I think Al-Hassan had a bit of trouble there, some kind of assault charge against him, but he was proven innocent. And that's why he's been off for quite a while. As you can see, 2018 was his last fight, so he's coming back. But he is a beast. He beat Nico Price, beat Hamasi twice. The first one was a little bit controversial with Hamasi, but then he came back and he absolutely killed him in the fucking next one. But yeah, I'm interested in that fight. I don't know too much again, but the other guy, but Al-Hassan, is a very entertaining fighter. Co-main event is a fun one.
There's another fight. Actually, I'll give you Rob. Hamzat Chimaev there against John Phillips.
Oh yeah, that's Noel has been talking about Chimaev for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah. So call that one out. Chimaev's stepping in on short notice as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, big favourite though, 2-7.
He fights out of London Shoot Fight, I believe, Chimaev. And John Phillips, I think it's a good fight for him because John Phillips would like to strike, and I think we might see a bit of a battle there. There's actually some decent fights in this card, I have to say. Some decent fights. The co-main event interests me. Two kind of weird fighters. Tim Elliott, who can beat anyone on his day, and Ryan Benoit. Could be an interesting scramble type match. We'll see how it goes, but I like watching Tim Elliott. I do. How will the Jack Shore fight go? Fabian Patella asked. Jack Shore. Let's see who he's fighting. Aaron Phillips.
Aaron Phillips.
I haven't seen too much of Aaron Phillips, I'll be honest, so I can't give a great breakdown. But he's on a decent win streak after going on a bad losing streak. He fought in the UFC before. Yeah, I don't know, but I like Jack Shore. Jack Shore is a good fighter. Of course, he is a Cage Warriors vet and made a successful debut. What was it? Sometime last year, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm interested in that one as well. Pretty decent fight.
Chris Fishgold on the card as well. He missed weight earlier, actually.
Yeah, because the weigh-ins are on right now. It's really been filled though by a lot of like the UK guys who couldn't get over to the States, and of course from other places as well. But there's a lot of guys from the UK who are being brought over.
Do you know what it looks like, Rob? It looks like a pretty cheap card for the UFC to put on.
Oh yeah, especially if they're getting paid to.
And I don't mean that in the sense that there's bad fights on it, but like this card is costing the UFC fuck all to put on wages.
Yeah, and they're being paid by the tourism board of Abu Dhabi.
Sports washing, Rob. Sports washing.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? John C., how do you see Rose stacking up with Wei Lee after this weekend? Seemed like she took a lot of damage at the end of the fight. I still think she matches up well with her, Sean.
Yeah.
like you could see Andrade coming in later in the fight, which could be a problem a little bit. Because I even think Weili looked really good in that really, really incredible high-paced fight against Namajunas. But if you want to do a bit of MMA math, Namajunas beat Joanna, I thought, pretty convincingly, probably more convincingly. Well, especially the first one, but second one even than Weili did. So I think she still matches up with her quite well. And I think the fact that Rose is willing to go to the ground and probably a better grappler in terms of submissions than Weili, I think that makes it really, really interesting because it's not going to look like the Joanna fight, in terms of she's not going to stand right in front of her. So I think she matches up with her quite well.
I think that's the fight to make. Not entirely sure we see it anytime soon. I think Rose will probably want a bit of a break now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the fight to make.
Yeah.
Fun fight as well. I think Rose, she has a great camp there behind her to make a game plan for Weili, so who knows?
Yeah. Apparently Razak Al Hassan as well missed weight.
Yes, there was 2 people who missed weight. So
yeah.
Both got fined, I think 30% of the purses.
Yeah. Jesus. Let me just go to the community tab and make sure
the card at the weekend as well.
Yeah, let's actually do that because it's weird that there's 2 cards coming up before we come back.
There's actually quite a lot of fights on that card. 12 fights. Decent card, is that? I'm just having a look through now for the first time.
That's it. So
Joe
the main
Duffy's
event,
back.
main event is Davison Figueiredo against Joseph Benavidez 2. Of course, the first one, Davison won, but it was a non-title fight because he missed weight, which is
it was on the line for Benavidez.
It was on the line for Benavidez. Non-title fight in the end because he won. So yeah, to get to run that one back, that's a good opportunity now, or it could be a devastating opportunity for Joseph Benavidez if he's to lose again.
It's tough.
Man, it's tough. But let's see what happens. But it's a good fight. I do like it. Let's hope they both make weight. Looking at you, Davison. Imagine he missed weight again. Holy fuck. Stop it. Any flyweights in the card, actually?
I think there is. Dana was talking about this in his press conference at the weekend.
Yeah, that does slap them in. Yeah, they have Askarov and Pantoja. They'll be thrown in there. Yeah.
He mentioned that. So he pretty much said if either guy falls out because of weight, they're swapping them.
Yeah. Speaking of, as you said, Joe Duffy back. Jesus, Joe Duffy hasn't fought in a long time, and it's a shame because I'm a big fan of Joe Duffy. Of course, there's a little bit of biasy there, but
when was the last fight? Who was it against?
It was Mark Diakase,
Jesus,
which is over a year and a half ago nearly at this point, and very disappointing performance as well. I lost to James Vick. I think Joe Duffy hasn't worked out in terms of what I think his potential was. He hasn't really realised that potential that he had in the UFC, which is a shame because when he was coming in, man, I was all over Joe Duffy because his run in Cage Warriors was fucking sweet.
Beat Conor McGregor.
Beat Conor McGregor, of course, but even that later Cage Warriors run when he knocked out I can't remember, Julian Boussage or whatever his name was with the knee, phenomenal. But yeah,
the co-main event here is really good actually. Hermansson and Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a big opportunity for Hermansson as well.
That fight's been flying under the radar a little bit, I think.
Very much so, because Kelvin himself isn't far away from a title. Of course, Hermansson beat Jacare and then lost to Cannonier. But yeah, Kelvin, 2-fight losing streak, but to Till and to Adesanya. So in a way, it's a tough fight for him because if he loses that 3-fight losing streak isn't good, and especially a 3-fight losing streak going from the fight with Israel to Till to Hermansson, and I think in a lot of casual fans' eyes, that's like a downgrade each time.
Yeah.
So it's a tough fight for him, but if he wins it, I think he's right back up there. Ariane Lipski coming back, KSW, former KSW champion. As we said, Pantoja. A fight on the card who Noel again has been talking about, Amir Albazi, who actually is the guy who fights out with London Shoe Fighters, I think. So perhaps the other guy does too. But fights Malcolm Gordon. Albazi fought Ryan Curtis, I think, in Brave. Pretty good fighter too. So yeah, it's two interesting cards. I think if you look at the two cards, and you could probably make a better card from all the fights on it. But
Yeah.
I think they're two decent cards. Won't be staying up for them, but I will watch them, and we'll talk
We'll watch
about
them the
them
next
next
day
week.
and enjoy them, but yeah, they're not worth staying up for.
Yeah.
See, for me, these are perfect examples of cards that should be put on at local time.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
What's the point in doing these at prime time in the US? Yeah.
For ESPN, I guess ESPN needs some fucking sports because nothing else is on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll leave it there. If you haven't liked the video yet, like it now. That really helps us out, and subscribe to the channel. We are back every Tuesday, and we'll be back next Tuesday. And that's pretty much it. But thanks for watching. Thanks for all the questions. And Sean, thank you for being wonderful as always.
No worries, man.
Great stuff. Talk later.